Before I begin, I just want to say this is a part 2 of sorts to my last video. In my last video, I laid out the idea of Naruto and B swapping Akatsuki fights, where B fights Pain and Naruto fights Kisame. Despite this being a part 2, you can definitely watch the videos in whatever order, and this video won't assume you watched my last one and vice versa. Of course, you should still go watch my Pain vs. B video after this one, but you don't have to in order to get this one. With that out of the way, this video will be covering Naruto vs. Kisame. Since I am swapping Naruto and B's Akatsuki fights, this will be the Naruto that fought Pain versus the Kisame that fought B. This will be both as they showed up to their respective encounters, meaning B doesn't start with chakra absorbed from B, and Naruto starts in Sage mode with backup clones set up. Both fighters will also be willing to kill the other. I dropped the idea from last video of one round where the Akatsuki member is willing to kill, and one where they're trying to capture, as I felt it doesn't change the overall fight meaningfully enough to add both in the video. So just know that almost all of this breakdown would apply even if Kisame was trying to capture Naruto as he would in character. So normally when covering battles like this, I would start by going over the physical stats, but in this case, I don't really think that makes sense. After all, Killer B had Kisame beat in speed and power, but that didn't stop Kisame from winning the fight in the end. So what I'm actually going to start on is Samehada's ability to absorb chakra and how it would play into this matchup. Samehada allows Kisame to absorb chakra from whatever Samehada touches. This was shown best during the Killer B fight, where he was able to strip away 6 tails of chakra at a time from Killer B while he was in his Biju cloak, and B was mostly out of chakra after just a few attacks from Samehada. Kisame is then able to pull away the chakra Samehada takes into his body and use it for himself. This also does actually work on jutsu itself, as we see Killer B absorb part of a fireball that Itachi fires at him. Now, there's a lot to cover in how this would interact with Naruto specifically, but one big factor is that Sage Naruto has nature energy, and Kisame can't absorb too much of this. A direct example of absorbing too much nature energy comes from when Pain absorbed too much from Naruto and was petrified into a frog. Now, the thing about this that makes it hard to judge is that it's not just you take in some nature energy and you suddenly transform. You have to take in a certain amount before you do. Naruto was sitting still when Pain was absorbing chakra, so he could constantly bring in more nature energy that Pain then had to intake. Naruto actually fully exited Sage mode from Pain absorbing so much of his chakra before he then re-entered Sage mode and Pain absorbed it again, and only then did Pain start to transform into a frog. So based on this interaction, Pain can actually safely absorb enough chakra to bring Naruto out of Sage mode before he ends up transforming. So this of course then begs the question, how much chakra can Kisame bring in before he transformed? And we don't have an exact way to judge this, but we do know that the amount you should be able to take in before transforming is based on how large of a chakra pool you have. Paul explains that you have to balance the nature energy with your normal mental and physical energy, and if you have too much nature energy, it overpowers the rest, and that is what causes you to transform. Also, a prerequisite for being a sage in the first place is having a large chakra pool. So basically, the larger chakra pool you have, the more nature energy you need to bring in to overwhelm it. And I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, but Kisame is known for having a very large chakra pool. Thus, he would have to take in large amounts of nature energy for his chakra to be overpowered and for him to be petrified. I know some may point out that Pain also has large amounts of chakra, but who really has large amounts of chakra is actually Nagato. And the Pain that got transformed from absorbing too much nature energy is actually just a section of Nagato's chakra. And this was a very weakened Nagato at this point, as he had performed multiple large jutsus that sapped away his energy. All of this to say, I do think Kisame can safely absorb chakra from Naruto, especially because he can't recreate the circumstances he did against Pain, where he sat still to draw in extra nature energy, so Pain had to continuously bring in more and more, eventually being overwhelmed. In the scene, Pain was literally forcing Naruto to stay still, and there's nothing Kisame does that would really recreate this scenario. So in the context of this fight, I don't think Kisame being petrified by nature energy is a very relevant thing. Now, that was all just to say it's safe for Kisame to actually take chakra from Naruto. It doesn't mean he actually can do it, and it doesn't mean he'll win. Kisame being able to absorb chakra still requires physical touch of Samehada, which requires speed. So now we can finally get into the physical stats, starting with speed. As if Kisame wasn't already weird enough to discuss, we actually have to cover the speed of Samehada Samehada and Kisame himself separately. Samehada actually moved for Kisame against B and reacted to some of B's attacks. What needs to be specified is if this would happen similarly against Naruto as it did against B, because if it does or not can completely change how the fight plays out. Against B, Samehada took a liking to B's chakra, and the reason given was that it was octopus-flavored chakra. Kisame even mentions that Samehada getting this riled up is a rare occurrence. Based on what we do know, it's unlikely the same thing will happen against Naruto. Samehada only got so riled up against B because of the unique taste of his chakra. Now, there's sort of two ways you can view this. The first is that Samehada and Kisame are supposed to be a shark, and in real life, sharks eat octopuses. The only special taste Naruto may have is from Toad Sage Mode, and sharks don't eat toads. But if you don't like to go by that real life logic, which fair enough, all you would say is there's no proof Naruto would have some unique taste that Samehada would take a liking to. We never see in any other fight in the series Samehada getting riled up like this. Even when B fought other Jinchuriki in the war, Samehada never got excited the way he did against B. The only other time in the series Samehada even moves on its own is actually when B is fighting the other Jinchuriki, and even then it seems a little vague and maybe looks like B initiated the attack himself. Even if Samehada did this fully on its own, it never defended B against any attacks, it only attacked the Jinchuriki by itself. We also don't see Samehada steal chakra from the other Jinchuriki the way it was against B, so it's just very unlikely to say Samehada would act the way it did against B against Naruto, and thus the speed of Samehada moving on its own won't be relevant. With that out of the way, we can actually now cover the speed of Kisame himself, which to be honest is quite unimpressive. Kisame only ever reacts to base B. Whenever B uses a Biju cloak, Samehada reacts for him. And while B is very impressive with his Biju cloaks, base B has very questionable speed himself. The only other fights base B has at this point is against Taka. Now, I know some people argue that base B was able to perform similarly to Kisame on Naruto during the war, and while this is true, B should be stronger in the war. It's very much in character for B to be constantly training and getting stronger, and we actually see him training on Turtle Island when Naruto is training to get KCM1. We can also just see the difference with B, where V1B matched V1 Raikage in their double lariat before the war, but during the war, base B overpowered V2 Raikage in a lariat clash, meaning base B in the war is stronger than V1B by a noticeable amount. And as if this wasn't already enough, we already established Warwick B is able to keep up with KCM1 Naruto, and KCM1 Naruto, the first time he used the form, completely outspeeded Kisame. So Kisame being anywhere near Warwick B is just inconsistent and doesn't make sense with what we see in the series. So now to actually go into pre-Warwick B and where his speed stacks up, we see B get reacted to by Taka Sasuke multiple times. A lot of people have misconstrued this fight to be that B was completely destroying Sasuke the entire time, but whenever B overwhelmed Sasuke, it was either with a Biju cloak or by overwhelming him with several sword attacks at once, which he never used against Kisame. Even when B used all 8 swords, Sasuke was still able to block a barrage of attacks before finally getting hit by B. While B is overall the superior fighter, Sasuke is as fast as B in his base form. This same Sasuke is considered weaker than Sage Naruto by Zetsu even after he shows off his MS during the B fight. This Sasuke being below Sage Naruto is actually supported by the narrative we see being pushed by the series, where Naruto and Sasuke at this point are constantly getting power-ups alongside each other, and we see Sasuke use the MS in the same chapter Naruto awakens an early form of Sage Mode, meaning it seems like the thing that allows Sasuke to potentially compete with Sage Naruto is his MS. So Sage Naruto should clearly be above Sasuke without the MS at this point, but Sasuke without the MS was able to keep up with base B. So based on their comparison through Sasuke at this point, Sage Naruto should be above base B, and base B is the best thing Kisame has shown in terms of his speed. This is honestly all being charitable to Kisame in a sense, as Kisame doesn't really fight B in close quarters for long at all. He barely ever reacts to any attacks, whereas Sasuke was reacting to barrages of sword strikes from B. Naruto should overall be much faster than Kisame, and this category isn't really close. Now that I've covered speed, what I normally do is go over the strength of both fighters and show how they stack up there, but I'm going to do it a little differently this time, and I think you'll see why after I cover it. With Naruto being faster, what's really relevant in Naruto's case is just if he can hurt Kisame with his attacks. There isn't a great direct comparison for this, but Kisame isn't really shown to be a physical tank. He uses Samehada and his jutsu when fighting. He's also never shown just taking attacks with no damage throughout the series. He's not somebody like the Raikage. Sage Naruto is portrayed to be incredibly powerful, taking out passive pains in singular hits, and has powerful Rasengan variants like the Massive Rasengan. It's unlikely to say Kisame can just eat attacks from Naruto with no damage. This is not me saying that Naruto is definitively stronger than Kisame, but that if Naruto lands attacks, Kisame isn't going to take it with no damage. Now, the reason I didn't cover Kisame's strength to compare it to Naruto is that in the case he can't absorb chakra like he did against B, and he's getting overwhelmed in speed, he has other jutsu he can resort to that we see him use to great effect throughout the series. While these jutsu do have a certain power to them, it'd be kind of a disservice to the technique to just go over how hard it hits, such as when he uses his shark bombs in massive numbers to try to overwhelm Guy. Guy was able to destroy the shark bombs, but they were in such great numbers that he had trouble taking all of them out using only the 6th gate. However, the jutsu that is the most relevant to Kisame being able to overwhelm an opponent is the water bubble that we see him use against Killer B. When Kisame performs this technique, he summons a massive water bubble that moves with him, and when he enters the water bubble, he fuses the Samehada to become more shark-like, giving him an advantage in the aquatic environment. Also, due to fusing with Kisame, he can now absorb chakra directly through his skin and no longer needs to transfer it from Samehada to himself. When Kisame used this against B, he wanted to capture him alive, so he simply took most of his chakra and then dispersed the jutsu. But in a fight like this where he's trying to kill, he could simply drown Naruto. We actually see B starting to drown inside the water bubble and Kisame disperses it. Kisame wouldn't even have to get close to Naruto to try to absorb his chakra in this fight. He could just enter the water bubble and keep Naruto inside of it until he drowns. All he has to do is be able to move enough to stop Naruto from swimming out of bounds of it. And because he's much faster in the aquatic environment, there's no evidence Naruto could swim his way out of the water bubble so quickly that Kisame is unable to keep him inside. Naruto doesn't have a super great counter to this. The only one you may try to argue is that Naruto could summon his toads to help him get out, but Naruto's toads are weaker than he is, and it's not like toads are fully aquatic animals. There's no reason any of the toads should be able to escape the bubble when Kisame is in his home environment and has an incredible speed advantage. So winning by just summoning the water bubble and drowning Naruto seems like a viable path to victory for Kisame. The only issue with this, and the only real counter Naruto has, is that he has a chance to kill Kisame before he ever uses the bubble. It's not like Kisame starts fights off with this bubble immediately. He only used it once against B, and he had multiple exchanges with B before finally resorting to using the water bubble. Kisame actually took fatal damage from B before using the water bubble, but was able to heal using the chakra Samehada stole from B. However, as I previously explained, Samehada likely won't be stealing chakra from Naruto as he did against B, and Kisame's healing seems to work off of stolen chakra he takes from others. So if Naruto fatally wounds Kisame like B did, it is unlikely Kisame will be able to heal the same way he did against B. So then this brings up the question, can Naruto do fatal damage to Kisame before he summons the water bubble? My answer to this would be yes. As I said, Naruto wins in a straight up fight with superior speed, and should be able to damage Kisame. We see during the pain fight that Sage Naruto is willing to use massive attacks constantly, spamming Rasengans and using 2 massive Rasengans through his clones. Naruto is also very willing to use the Rasen Shuriken, something that attacks you at a cellular level, which Kisame has never shown any way to deal with. Overall, Kisame does have a potential path to victory through his water bubble, but you would have to be extremely charitable to him and say that he would immediately use it or could somehow survive Naruto's assault, even though he has superior speed and very powerful jutsu that should be able to hurt Kisame. If you think Kisame can pull off the water bubble, I think it's very fair to say he would win in that case. But I think I made my case for why Naruto would kill him before he ever gets the chance to do this. So basically, I do think Naruto wins, but if you view some certain things differently, I could see how you would think Kisame does.